I have to set my watch up here so I can see what time it is. It is running a little slow, though. That means we do get a little extra time, I think. I'll have everybody home by 9 o'clock before home improvement comes on. I was thinking the other day of what the Lord would have me to speak this evening about. And it's a topic that if you've been a Christian for any length of time at all, it's certainly not a stranger to you. I know that we have the problem here at Delhi simply because I've heard the pastor say we've had it on several occasions from the pulpit in some of his sermons. It's for those of us who from time to time feel dry in our spirits. We wonder, Lord, where did you go? Where are you? Am I going through this thing all alone? And people get that way. We need a revival in not only Delhi Christian Center, but in the church community as a whole, I believe. And I think everybody knows that before a revival can begin, before one can start, we have to have one within ourselves first. We have to revive our spirits first. We have to be willing to be revived before we can carry revival on to somebody else. And I will say that if you're a new Christian, if you've never been dry before, if you've never gone through the dry spells or the desert that you hear so much preachers and teachers talking about, have faith and have patience. You'll be there shortly. Okay? We all go through them. It doesn't matter if you're a preacher or a teacher. It doesn't matter who you are. You go through these dry spells and these deserts, so to speak. And sometimes we need to rekindle ourselves. We need to bring ourselves back to life again. One of the characters that I like so much in the Bible is David. I like to pattern, and I try to do this consciously. I try to pattern my prayer life, how I pray, the way David prayed. Some people may call him a crybaby, a whiner, or whatever. He's the kind of guy who isn't afraid to tell God what's on his mind. If he's angry, he tells God he's angry. If he's mad, he tells him he's mad. If he's angry with somebody, he tells him who he's angry at. It doesn't matter why. It's just he has this kind of communication and this kind of rapport with God that it's just an open honesty that's there. And I try that consciously. I try to do that. When I'm angry at somebody or at something, I tell God that, Lord, I'm angry with this. And it doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong. The fact that I'm angry, God knows that I'm angry. And I have to tell him, Lord, I'm angry with this. I don't know why. It more than likely is me, and I need the change to fit the situation. But the honesty and the open rapport that David has with God, that's one of the people that we're going to look at this evening. One of the situations in his life. From time to time, all of us get bogged down with the cares of the world. Things, they tend to beat on us a lot. We have several people in here tonight. Patty's going through a tremendous trial right now. I assume that Mel still has problems with his eyes. I'm not sure, but I think he does. Our pastor has problems with his knees. My wife still has problems with tremendous headaches that last for a week at a time and just lays her flat on her back. People have things that happen in their lives, and it's not to say that this happens every time, but sometimes when these cares and these things start to pile up on us, we lose sight of God, not from the standpoint that we're walking away from him, but from the standpoint that the things that are happening to us become more paramount in our lives, and we begin to pay more attention to these things than we normally would with our relationship to God. And anytime, I don't care what it is, anytime you put something before you and God and you start paying more attention to this, eventually it starts consuming your thought, it starts consuming how you act, what you do, and God kind of sometimes gets pushed a little bit, not so far back, but far enough away that this other thing, whatever that care or whatever that might be, has taken effect on you. David, in his life, the occasion that we're going to look at this evening, which is the introduction basically to where I actually want to go, but I need to give you just a little bit of the background about where this is going. David, one of the cares in his life was a couple of things that happened to him that we're going to look at tonight. Literally almost killed him physically rather than just beat him down. David had a life that he did some things wrong, he did some things right, and he paid the price for those. So for just a little bit of background about where we're going, if you have your Bibles, turn to the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 18. It's the introduction to the story that I'm sure you all are familiar with between David and Saul. The confrontation that was between these two people. One that literally almost took David's life physically. Saul didn't like him. And we'll establish the beginning of this, and then I'll run it up to where I want to go. 1 Samuel chapter 18, and we'll start in verse 5 and go through verse 12. Verse 5 starts and it says, "And David went out whithersoever Saul sent him, and behaved himself wisely. And Saul set him over the men of war, and he was accepted in the sight of all the people, and also in the sight of Saul's servants. And it came to pass as they came, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistines, that the women came out of all cities of Israel, singing and dancing to meet King Saul, with tabrets and joy, and with instruments of music." Verse 7, "And the women answered one another as they played, and said, Saul hath slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. And Saul was very wroth at the saying, displeased him. And he said, They have ascribed unto David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed but thousands. And what can he have more but the kingdom? And Saul eyed David from that day forward. And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from God came upon Saul, and he prophesied in the midst of the house. And David played with his hand, as at other times, and there was a javelin in Saul's hand. And Saul cast the javelin, for he said, I will smite David, even to the wall with it. And David voided out of his presence twice. And Saul was afraid of David, because the Lord was with him, and was departed from Saul." We've got the beginning of the story between David and Saul when David began to arise as far as popularity among the people, in favor with people, in favor with God, in favor in battle. God began to smile on David. And Saul, when he saw this, they'd go out to these wars, and David would kill literally, I'm assuming that this is right, literally 10,000s of Philistines, while Saul just killed thousands. And when they returned triumphant back in the cities, the people would come out and they would give more credit to David than they did Saul, who was king. And Saul looked at this, he's starting to get angry with this. And he starts plotting things in his mind, how he's going to destroy David. And to paraphrase the next 3 or 4 chapters, starting in verse 17, we've got the account going through the rest of the chapter, where Saul decided he was going to do 2 things. Number 1, he was going to send David out into battle with the Philistines, hoping that the Philistines would kill him. Saul didn't go. When he came back victorious, Saul said, well, I'm going to give David my daughter. He had promised him one before if he would go out and win this dowry in the battle. But the first daughter that Saul gave or promised to David was already promised to somebody else, so he gave him his second daughter. Saul's thought was, well, he didn't get killed in battle, so I'm going to give him my other daughter. And here's what he said. Here's what he said to him. He said within himself, I'm going to give him my daughter as a bride so she can become a snare to him. How would you like to have a father-in-law like that? I'm going to give you my daughter so she can be your downfall. That's what Saul was thinking. The odd thing is, Saul's daughter that he gave to David was actually in love with David, and it didn't work. So he got more angry with that. And over chapter 19, verses 1 through 7, Saul plots to kill David with the help of Jonathan. But Jonathan, who, if you know the story, was a friend of David. These guys were very, very close friends. Jonathan talked Saul out of killing David. So he said, okay, I won't do this. David came back into the kingdom. He came back with Saul. Saul, the longer David remained there, the angrier Saul got. Jealousy, envy, bitterness began to arise in Saul. And he says, I'm still going to kill this guy. I'm still going to kill him. Over in chapters 19, 18 through 24, David begins to flee for his life after Saul took the first chance when he said, remember he had the javelin in his hand? And he told David, he said, I'm going to pin you to the wall with this javelin. I'm going to thrust you through. I'm going to throw it at you. And I'm going to literally pin you to the wall. I'm going to kill you. He actually tried. Saul took the javelin. He threw it. David stepped aside. The javelin stuck in the wall. And that was Saul's actual first physical attempt on David's life. David began to flee. He ran everywhere. He ran from city to city. In chapter 20, verses 1 and 2, and in 19, 18 through 24, we have a little bit of account of David's flee from Saul, actually fleeing from his life. Over in chapter 22, verse 1, this is where we're leading up to. 22, verse 1 says, David therefore departed thence and escaped to a cave Adullam. And when his brethren and all his father's house heard it, they went down thither to him. We have David, who's beginning to go, who has gone through a lot of things, with Saul trying to kill him. Saul's tried to kill him in battle. He gave him his daughter, hoping his daughter would be the downfall of him. He physically tried to kill him, and it didn't work. So needless to say, David had some things in his life that you and I wouldn't want to go through. I wouldn't want somebody hunting me down, trying to kill me. I just wouldn't want that. With David in the cave, he's hiding in the cave. That's the point where I want to pick up, is when David's in the cave. I needed to tell you the background to this to get you to the point of where I want to go. Turn to Psalms, if you would, the 143rd Psalm. This is the text for tonight, Psalms 143. David, when he was in this cave, Bible scholars believe is where he wrote the four Psalms, 140, 141, 142, and 143. Speaking about deliverance from Saul, the things he was going through, the honesty that he had before God. And what I want to look at in the 143rd Psalm are the things that you and I can pick out and apply to our lives today. If you read the book of Psalms, you're going to find David's honesty. And sometimes if you don't know how to pray, sometimes if you don't know what to pray, look at Psalms sometimes and find out what David prayed. A lot of the things, folks, that David felt, we feel today because they're human emotions. We get fed up. I don't know about you, but I've been angry with God before, and I've told him. Some of y'all have too. We've been angry with our brothers and our sisters before, and we've told God. The key, I think, to this is to be honest. If we're honest with God and we can discuss it with God, we give God the opportunity to tell us what's wrong within ourselves, how to fix the problem, what to do, where to go, where can we get help from. And that's what I like so much about David, because of his honesty in prayer with God. Let's look at what he says in Psalms 143. Let's start in verse 1. He starts out and he first says, Hear my prayer, O Lord, give ear to my supplication. In thy faithfulness answer me, and in thy righteousness. Right off of the bat, he's saying, God, hear my prayer. I don't know how y'all are, but there have been times when I have prayed that I just as well have not knelt down and prayed. It seems like it didn't go anywhere. I've heard the expression, pray till you break through. Break through what? Break through me? Break through what? I know that God hears me. He knows my thoughts. And I'll be honest with you, I take much refuge in the fact that even if I believe I'm not getting through, God still hears my prayer. And we need to understand that. We don't have to say, pray till you break through. Just say, Lord, and you're through. You're there. You don't have to go any further. God knows your thoughts. He knows your heart. He knows the intent of your heart. He knows what you want. Just tell him. He knows what you're saying. Verse 2, he says, And enter not into judgment with thy servant. In thy sight shall no man be justified. For the enemy hath persecuted my soul, and hath smitten my life down to the ground. He hath made me to dwell in darkness, as those that have been long dead. I want to do something here with verse 3 that I don't normally do. I want to take verse 3 out of context for just a minute to apply it to ourselves. I know that verse 3 is talking about David and Saul. I know that. And I know he's talking about the persecution that Saul's giving him. And he's forcing him to live in places that he didn't want to live. Instead of living in a house, he's living in a cave. He's living in the dark sides of the city so Saul's men can't find him and kill him. So I want to take verse 3 out of context for just a second. And I want to apply it to us today. We don't have Saul chasing us today, but we do have an enemy. We do have someone. I love that song you sang. That was great. That fits right in with this message. Get out of here, devil. I don't want you anymore. You don't even belong here anymore. Kick him out. We have an enemy, folks, who, and I'm sure you've heard this before, if you're a Christian, you're on his hit list. There's no doubt, and there shouldn't be any doubt in your mind about it. You have an enemy who, if he will get a chance, or if you will give him a chance, will cause you to live in the dark places of life. Where are those dark places of life? They could be in the middle of an X-rated movie in the privacy of your home. That's a dark place in life. They could be in porno sex on the telephone, the 900 phone numbers. That's a dark place in life. They could be in anything that is a hindrance to your progression as a Christian, can be that dark side of your life that David was talking about, Saul was causing him to live in. If we give access in our lives to the enemy, he will cause us to live in the dark sides of life that you and I wouldn't normally otherwise choose to live in, whatever that might be. So I wanted to take verse 3 out of context for just a second to show you that. We do have an enemy. He will destroy you if you give him the opportunity. And I got to tell you this, folks. If you give him the opportunity, he can't do anything to you that you won't allow him to do. He can't make you do things. We do things wrong. Why? Because we choose to do them. For whatever reason. We do have that enemy. Let's look at verse 4. I don't know if any of you have ever been in this situation in verse 4, but I got to tell you, I have. Therefore is my soul overwhelmed within me, my heart within me is desolate. How many times have you stood before God and said, God, where are you? I'm alone in this. Let me feel your spirit. I've heard, I don't know how many people say we should not go on feelings, but I got news for you. If I have to feel pain and I have to feel sorrow, I want to feel God's Spirit. Yes. I want to feel pleasure in my heart. I want to feel joy in my heart. I want it to bubble over. I want that feeling. Yes, I live by faith. Yes, I'll serve him by faith. But just as I feel sorrow and just as I feel hurt and pain, I want to feel God's love, and I want to feel it physically. I don't like it when I feel separated from God because of something that I've done. And David's crying out now. Don't forget, folks, he's been on the run, and he's starting to say, God, where are you? My soul is overwhelmed. My spirit's overwhelmed. I feel desolate inside. I want to feel you. Where are you? That's what David's praying. Look at verse 5. Verse 5 is the key to this. And when I summarize this, I'm going to come back to verse 5 because here's the key. Verse 5 says, I remembered the days of old. I meditate on thy works. I muse on the work of thy hand. Muse, if you're a note taker, it simply means to ponder. It says, I pondered the works of your hands. I remember the things that you've done, Lord. And I want to stop there because I want to come back to that verse in just a second. Let's go on to verse 6. It says, I stretch forth my hands unto thee. My soul thirsteth after thee as a thirsty land. I don't know how y'all are, but I cannot get enough of this word. I just can't. I love it. I love to study it. When Judy could tell you when I did Sunday school lessons, when I was finishing up this sermon for last night, I've got a drafting board at home that's just about the size of this table or this podium, and I'd set my chair with my feet propped up, and that board was there, and I had 4 or 5 books stacked up over here, and I had my Bible and another 2 or 3 books. And if I read a word like the word muse, if I run across it and don't know what it means, I got to look it up to see what it means. I have to have this. God, I have to have you. I'm stretching my hand. Where are you, Lord? I want more. I want more. I want more. And that's what David's saying. He just got done saying, Lord, my soul thirsts. I feel abandoned. My heart it just feels desolate. I want more of you, Lord. That's what he's saying. Look at verse 7. Now, this is what we say a lot of times. Hear me speedily, O Lord. God, I'm going to pray. Now answer me quick. Hear me. Give me what I want. Let me have it quick. But how many of us know that quickness isn't always what we need? It's in the valley that we learn. It's in the valley that we learn. It's in the valley that we grow. How many? I've heard people sing about, it's on your knees when you stand. That kind of thing. That's what he says. Hear me speedily, O Lord. My spirit faileth. Hide not thy face from me, lest I be like unto them that go down into a pit. Cause me to hear thy loving kindness in the morning. David hadn't heard from God for a while when he wrote this song. Cause me to hear, Lord. When I pray, and I've noticed this when I fall into this category. When I say, cause me to do this, Lord, I've lost my ability to do it on my own. I would like to be to the point where when God speaks to me, I hear him. But when I lose that ability to hear him, I have to pray, God, I don't hear you anymore. Cause me to hear. Just like David here. Lord, I'm losing my ability to feel your loving kindness. It's going away. Cause me to feel it. Make me do it. And I'll be honest with you, I pray this way sometimes. If I know that, that I'm either doing something wrong or not doing something wrong or right or whatever, and I don't have the ability to change it myself, I ask God for deliverance, that's true. But a lot of times I say, God, make me do it. Make me do it. I don't have the ability to do it on myself, and if you leave it up to me, I won't do it. Make me do it. I don't care about whatever means you choose, but make me do it. That's what David is saying here. Cause me to hear. Make me hear your loving kindness. Here he mentions in the morning, I'll say, Lord, do it anytime. Cause me to hear it anytime. For in thee do I trust. Cause me to know the way wherein I should walk. And I lift my soul unto thee. David doesn't know, he don't know which way to go. He's saying, Lord, show me which way to walk. Cause me to know which way to go. Cause me to know. Verse 9. Deliver me, O Lord, from mine enemies. I flee unto thee to hide me. I don't care where you go. I don't care who you go to. I don't care what program you fall under. There's only one place that I know of that will give you the refuge that you need for your soul. Christ Jesus is that place. He is the one who can cause deliverance. He is the one who can cause forgiveness. He is the one who can cause healing. It doesn't matter what it is, a broken heart, a relationship, whatever. He is the author of these things, folks. If you're going to seek refuge, don't seek it in a body of people called the church. Don't seek it in a Sunday school teacher called a Sunday school teacher. Seek it in the one who's able to give it and able to deliver it. Amen. Christ the Lord. He's the one. And that's who David's crying out to. Deliver me, O Lord, from mine enemies. I flee to you. I flee to you. And look what he says. Excuse me. He says to hide me. Why would David say, hide me, Lord? Hide me. I kind of think it might be like this. If we have enemies who are attacking us, and in this case we'll say Lucifer, we'll say the devil, we don't know what goes on in the spirit realm. Undoubtedly there is fighting and there's warfare. It's possible, I think, that God would cause His angels, who are my ministering spirits, the Bible says, to protect me in that realm that I can't do anything about. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. That's just my way of thinking. If I run to the Lord for protection, to hide me from my enemies, I'm running behind something or someone who is capable to withstand the enemy on my behalf. That's what David is saying to God. Lord, hide me from my enemies. I'm coming to you. Now hide me. Protect me from them. That's what he's saying. Teach me to do thy will, for thou art my God. Thy spirit is good. Lead me into the land of uprightness. David is in a position where he's asking God to show him what he should do. Lord, teach me. Take me in the way of uprightness. Which way should I go? Should I go to the left? Should I go to the right? What should I do? He's looking specifically for God's guidance. Quicken me, O Lord, for thy name's sake. For thy righteousness' sake, bring my soul out of trouble. Excuse me. And of thy mercy, cut off mine enemies, and destroy all them that afflict my soul. And look what he says. Look how he finishes up this psalm. For I am thy servant. It's almost as if David is saying, Lord, you've got an obligation to do something here simply because I'm your servant. You've said in your word that if I want refuge, I should run to you. You've said in your word, if I want deliverance, I should run to you. If I want to be hid from the enemy, I should run to you. If I want these things, I should run to you. Why should I run to you, Lord? I'm your servant. That's who I am. If you want to know if you have the right to go to God for these things, just like David said, Lord, my soul is, it's just bottomed out. I'm just absolutely bummed out. I can't go no lower, Lord. But you said, come to you because I'm your servant. Okay, God, here I am. Problems and all, here I am. John, you're a life sent. I don't know why I started coughing, but I do take it. Yeah. Thank you very much. The last time somebody did that, brought me a glass of water. They brought it in a styrofoam cup like that, and they took a red crayon and colored the inside of the cup and gave me that. And that was, I almost laughed when they did that to me. That was the funniest thing. I still laugh about that. But thank you, John, for not doing that. But anyway, we have the situation here where David he's been fleeing from Saul for his life. He doesn't know what to do. He don't know which way to go. He's held up in a cave, and he writes this psalm, and he just literally says, he says, Lord, my soul thirsteth after thee as a thirsty land. He says, my spirit's overwhelmed within me. My heart within me is desolate. What should I do? Where should I go? When he did this, to me, the key verse that sticks out here is verse 5. This is what David did, and I think it would help us if we're in these kinds of situations that life brings. What do we do? Lord, I can't see you there tomorrow. I can't feel you here today. What should I do? Look what David did in verse 5. It says, I remembered the days of old. I meditate on all thy works. I muse or I ponder at the work of thy hand. If you get in the position like verse 4, and verse 4 is the prelude to what you do in verse 5, if your soul's overwhelmed, if your heart's desolate. Again, if you're not in this position right now, you will be sooner or later. Have faith. You'll get there. Remember this. Here's what I want to do. As David prayed this to God, maybe our prayer should be something to the same effect. When you and I pray, when we remember, Lord, take me back. Take me back to the beginning, Lord, when it all started. Take me back when I got on my knees, if that's how you did it, in the living room of your house where it happened to me, in your car listening to the radio. Take me back, Lord, where I first accepted you. And you took me exactly how I was. You didn't put any conditions on me. You said, if I will come, you will accept me. Take me back to that point, Lord. Take me back in my mind. Take me back in my memory. Remind me of these things, Lord, when the walk with you was sweet. Sometimes in our lives, I'm not saying you're away from God, but you and I get into a rut. We get into the job of doing things for God rather than cultivating our relationship with God. And when we get into that, we tend to not push God aside, but we push God aside for the sake of doing things for Him. And I think we tend to lose sight of it. Take me back, Lord, where I first began. I believe, Lord, I used to pray more back then. Oh, I couldn't wait, Lord, to get into your presence to pray. Now I can't hardly help it if I pray 10 minutes a day. Sometimes I'll pray 5 minutes a day, and sometimes all I do is say grace during the day. Grace at my meals, and that's the extent of my prayer life. Lord, what happened to my prayer life with you? What happened to the fellowship? What happened to the communion? The Lord didn't leave you. You changed. God didn't change. If you and I have changed our relationship toward God, we need to change it back. If you want to know why you don't pray more now, it's because you don't pray more now. I don't care what it is. You can say, I don't have the time anymore. You had the same amount of time now that you had when you got saved, that you look forward to. I look forward to the time of fellowship with God in prayer. I even used to wait until He answered me from time to time. I heard somebody testify here a couple of weeks ago on Wednesday night. I don't remember who it was. I believe it may have been Pete. Said when he got down to pray, he got up and left when he was finished. But God gave him the answer to his prayer on his way back and said, you didn't wait for me to answer you. You got up and left. Take me back, Lord. Take me back to where prayer used to be a joy, not a hindrance anymore. Take me back to that. Take me back, Lord, when I used to read your word more. Oh, I can remember reading chapter after chapter after chapter after chapter and not getting enough. When I first got saved, I remember going to bed with my Bible, with the dictionary, and with a concordance. I remember doing that. Judy'd be going to sleep, and I'd be sitting there reading. Give me a dictionary. I got a word I can't understand. And I'd spend sometimes hours on one verse just trying to understand one verse. I'd take the stuff to bed with me and read it. I don't anymore. Take me back, Lord, where I used to read your word. Used to read it with a fervent fever for it. Couldn't get enough of it. It's not to say I'm not now. But it seems like when you're first saved, everything has such an enthusiasm that you can't get enough. I can't get enough of God. I can't get enough prayer. I can't get enough of His word. I can't get enough of anything. But the longer you go, the more of a routine you begin to get into. You begin to lose a little bit of the enthusiasm that you have. Shouldn't be that way. Take me back, Lord. Take me back when I used to read more. Cause me to remember that. Cause me to remember that. I'm desolate now, Lord. I want to remember the things that I used to do. Why? So I can go back and do them again. Another one of the things is, Lord, take me back when I think I used to listen to you a little bit more than I do now. Tried so hard to listen to God when He spoke. Tried so hard to hear Him when He wanted me to do something. I got to tell you, brother, when you asked me to preach tonight rather than teach, I sat down and I did these. A couple of days ago, I said, Lord, what do you want? What do you want? Sometimes it takes a little bit of time for you to hear Him. And a song came to my mind. And the song was, Take Me Back. That was the inspiration for this. Take me back, Lord, when I'm dried up and I need to rekindle a fire in my life. Take me back. And I sat down, and this was at work, and I wrote down about 15 items, and I've got 14, and I've got them all right here. We've gone through half of them already. You didn't even know that. I wrote them down, and I said, oh, wow, that'd be great for a sermon. I went home, and I looked it up, and it didn't take me 5 minutes to turn to that psalm that David had probably 10 of these 14 things listed in that psalm. Oh, Lord, divine intervention. Thank you, an inspired sermon. It's great when you listen to him and you hear his voice when he tells you. If y'all don't get this, it's for me. Because I'm dry right now. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm dry and I need to rekindle myself. Take me back, Lord, when I was anxious to please you. David said it here in verse 10. I'm anxious to please you, Lord. I don't want to do things for you anymore. I want to please you more. If it pleases you that I go visit someone in a nursing home, let me go. Don't get busy in the things of being busy for the sake of being busy. Do what pleases God the most. I heard a testimony from a lady on the radio a couple of days ago who was a singer. She said she went to college, got her degree in music, and that's all she wanted to do was sing. She got ready to record a record. She was signing a contract with a recording studio, and God told her, what if I don't want you to sing? And this lady, who apparently had a great voice, she was telling her testimony, and she says, well, Lord, I went to school and got a degree in music. I want to sing. That's what I'm good at. That's what I want to do. She said again, his response was, well, what if I don't want you to sing? And she said after about the third time, it finally got through to her, well, maybe he don't want me to sing. Maybe he's got something else. So she said, okay, Lord, whatever you want. So it turns out that she's managing some kind of a radio station, and she was talking about it. She said she's happier now than she could have ever been making music. She said God's opened doors for her, said he's done just all kinds of things and blessed her because she gave up what she wanted to do versus what he wanted to do. Take me back, Lord, where I was anxious to please you, not just in the hurry to do things for you. Let me do what you want. Bring back to my memory deliverance. Lord, I remember when you delivered me from smoking. Lord, I remember when you delivered me from having a foul mouth. Lord, I remember when you delivered me from drinking. Lord, I remember when you delivered me from all of these things that I used to do that only you could break the bondage of. You could break the yoke. Bring back to my memory, Lord, those things that you delivered me from, that I can take strength in knowing the fact that you will do it again if I need it. Lord, I need delivered now. Take me back in my memory, Lord, where you delivered me before. Help me to take refuge. Help me to take solace in that, Lord. Help me to remember that. And here's what David said. And I pray this sometimes. Hold on to me, Lord. If you don't hold on to me, I might stray away. I might fall. Look what David said here in verse 7. Look back in verse 7. It says, hear me speedily, O Lord. He says, my spirit faileth. Hide not thy face from me, lest I be like to them that go down into the pit. He's asking God to hold on to him because in his own strength he can't hold on anymore. There are some of you again here who's going through things in life. I don't know what all they are, but you do. Hold on to me, Lord. Take me back to the place where I knew you were my strength, where I knew you were my refuge. Hold on to me, Lord. If you don't, I might fall. I might stumble. Hold on to me, Lord. Take me back, Lord, and remind me, as David asked, show me, Lord, thy loving kindness. Any kid, any parent who has a kid knows that that kid will do almost anything for a hug. Anything for a kiss. Anything for a little bit of affection. I don't know how you are, but I pray sometimes, Lord, just let me feel your presence. You don't have to do anything. Just let me feel your presence. Take me back, Lord, in my mind when there's been times that you've done that. Help me to remember the times, God, when you loved me and I felt it and I knew it. I don't feel like I'm walking through life alone anymore. Help me, God, to see your loving kindness. Take me back to that, Lord. And the last one is, Lord, take me back to the point that I loved you the most. Y'all know what point that was in your lives. I don't. It may have been when you got saved. It may have been when you got delivered from something. It may have been an answer to a prayer. I don't know. But Lord, take me back to a place where I loved you the most. Sometimes you and I cut our fellowship short with God because of things we do or don't do, or things that hinder us between that relationship. Lord, take me back to the place where I loved you the most and cause me to remember these things. Lord, my spirit fails, my heart's desolate. I don't know which way to go. I don't know whether to go. I don't know what you want. What should I do? Take me back, Lord. Just like David said. Verse 5. I remembered the days of old. I remember, Lord, when you did these things for me. Take strength in those things, folks, that God has done for you in the past. If he did it in the past, he'll do it in the future. If you need him today, he will give you today. If you need your deliverance today, he'll give it to you today. If you need strength today, he'll give you strength today. If you need love today, he'll give you love today. Be open to what he has for you. Seek him for these things. That's what David's prayer was. Lord, I just don't know. Cause me to do these things. Cause me to remember. Why, God? I'm your servant. That's why. Let's stand, if you would, please. I don't know that I'm the only one that's going through a dry spell in here. Maybe I am. I don't know. If there's any of you right now who are going through a dry spell, come on up, because we're just going to have some prayer up here today. We're going to pray for you. We'll hold hands. We'll pray. If any of you are going through a dry spell, you kind of feel a little empty, come on up. Let's have a little bit of prayer. Anybody at all? Or am I the only one? Anybody at all? If you feel dry in your spirit, you want a closeness, if there's something you need from God, come on up. Let's have just a little bit of prayer. We've got one. We've got another. Come on up. We've got a couple. There's nothing wrong with going through a dry spell. There's nothing at all. I think it's part of human nature. We get into ruts. We get into things that, folks, we just need to get out of. Come on. Mel, would you come up and help pray? Brother Hill, come up and help pray. Brother Ballard, Bruce, anoint our people and pray for them. John, please. Jim, anoint our people. The rest of you, if everything's fine between you and God, come up to the altars. It's time to have a season of prayer with God and help pray for these people. The altars are open. Mike, if you'd come and play something, please. Lord, take our people back to the place where it began. Take them back to a place where your love was the strongest in their lives, where your deliverance was present in their lives, where your strength was strong in their lives. Take them back, Lord. Take them back and help them to remember. Help them to remember what you've done for them. Bless the Lord.
Take me back. Take me back, dear Lord, to the place where I first received you. Take me back. Take me back, dear Lord, where I first believed. Take me back. Take me back, dear Lord, to the place where I first received you. Take me back. Take me back, dear Lord, where I first received. Take me back. Take me back, dear Lord, to the place believed. Take me back, dear Lord, to the place where I first received you. Take me back, dear Lord, where I first believed. Take me back, dear Lord, to the place where I first received you.